Hey guys, welcome to the Maresa Ng official channel where we help family businesses to grow. So let me paint a scenario for you today. You've got a CEO and all his children in a board meeting, and you find the CEO or the boss not happy with something and is screaming feedback, input to his son across the table, and all the employees, get really scared and they look downwards. They don't want to maintain any eye contact. And people get scared. It becomes a very tense and awkward situation in some family businesses that are not run professionally. And so the question for you today is this, how many of you are facing this in your business and you want to know how you can give feedback and still have a positive environment in your company? So guys, I'm going to share with you 6 awesome tips, and especially in family businesses, you find that when you give feedback, it's usually something really bad. Nobody gives feedback to the boss's son, the boss's daughter. No, you don't touch her, you don't tell her anything wrong about what she's doing. No, don't go there. So, feedback becomes this taboo word. And nobody can help the business to grow, and it becomes a very tense, unsaid situation that doesn't have a very clear system. There's a lot of biasness, there's a lot of double standards, and a lot of employees, especially if you're not related to the family that runs that business, you're gonna have a lot of discomfort working there. So a lot of it, so family businesses, when you run, how you give feedback and how you do it to family members and how you receive feedback, really important to create that positive atmosphere in your company and to continue attracting these other people to work in your business. So here are 6 things that you can do, and I'm gonna list them out for you. Number 1, every time you're gonna give some constructive feedback, because there are only 2 types of feedback. There's great feedback and there's constructive feedback. No feedback is bad feedback, poor feedback. So it's either a good feedback about something that you've done or constructive feedback, because constructive feedback is gonna help you to construct better behavior and how to do things better and get better results. So whenever you're gonna give constructive feedback to a family member, always do it in private setting. Always have a private setting. Pull that person aside, pull your daughter to a side, pull your son to a side and say, hey, I want to talk with you about something that happened last week and I want to be able to give you feedback one-to-one, okay? So private setting is really important. Number 2, well, if it's great feedback and it's something really good and you want to be able to acknowledge publicly. This is number 2. Acknowledge publicly. Don't acknowledge one-to-one. Sometimes you want to be able to recognize the person and you want to go, hey, great job. You did that really well. Very proud of you. Do that in a public setting. Number 3, family members, when you give feedback, do not give feedback at home. Give the feedback formally, professionally, in your office, in your workplace, but don't give the feedback at home. Don't sit at the dinner table and go, hey girl, I want to talk to you about something that happened last week, boy, and it becomes very hard. It becomes very hard for the person receiving feedback to know if this is a personal comment or is it a professional one. But if you want it to stay professional and you want the feedback to be taken professionally, then you gotta make sure that the feedback is done at the office, not over dinner. Okay, so that's really critical as well, to be able to tell both the mindsets. More often than not, family businesses get into a lot of trouble because the members and its employees, same people by the way, they don't know the difference between what's personal and what's professional. That's why arguments get out of hand. So if you want to give feedback and you want it to be taken well, as the boss, as the leader that's leading this whole thing, and you've got many family members in your company, you want to be able to ensure that your employees and family members can tell the difference if it's a personal comment or a professional one. You pick the time and place to be able to do that. Tip number 4, when you're giving feedback to a family member, always have a very precise and very specific situation. Don't give a vague comment or a vague constructive feedback. That means if it's vague, something that they did, you know, you could be clearer. Your communication was very, very unclear, and your staff, I don't think they understood what you meant when you said type out that email or go talk to this customer. You know, you gotta not have the feedback so vague. Give very specific situations, like last Tuesday when you had to handle that difficult customer. This is what you did. I think it could have been better, but I want to encourage you to see a different way of doing it. Is that okay? You know, try to refer to a very specific situation so that it's not left vague, because things that are left vague will only be filled in with assumptions. You'll start filling it up with stuff that don't exist. So be very, very specific and come from a good intention. Number 5, great forms of feedback always come with 1 to 2 different solutions that this person could take. So aside from just giving some constructive feedback around, you could have done this better, I think these are some things you could do to improve the situation. This is very, very important as a part of having great feedback across to any employee, whether they're family members or people that are not related to the family. Yeah. Number 6 tip for giving feedback to family members: ensure that that is also the exact same approach in giving feedback to non-family members. No double standards. It's exactly the same. If you're talking to your son, it's exactly the same. You're talking to your daughter, you're talking to your nephew, you're talking to someone that is unrelated. Also the same approach, so that it is treated as professional. So that's really, really critical in order to maintain a consistent business and build good relationships and a positive environment in your company. Now, these are 3 things that you want to be able to avoid, guys, and I want to share this with you. Number 1, avoid emotional conversations that get out of hand because somebody is screaming, somebody is crying in the office because of a very horrible, unprepared form of feedback. Yeah, avoid that at all costs, because it just scares the living daylights out of everyone there, family or non-family. The last thing you want is that people are just going, yeah, that's very normal, and they start turning a very blind deaf ear, or they freak out and they run off, they resign. Yeah, that sort of environment are very toxic. Avoid that, number 1. Number 2, avoid using unprofessional language. Unprofessional language is not a profanity per se, but unprofessional language could also be, you know, those little pet names that you call your little sister or your little brother. Try not to have that, because again it becomes confusing. You know, are you talking to me as your little sister now, or you're talking to me as a big brother, or are you talking to me as your daughter now? You know, and you have these pet names, so it's very confusing. Again, use their names. Use the name so that it's not confusing. Number 3, what you avoid is when you are giving feedback, avoid from referring to a personal situation, something that happened at home, and then you take things personally. Again, kind of related to the pet name calling that you will call your younger sister or your younger brother. Similar, but when you're giving feedback, don't use instances where we're talking about your home. Yeah, you know, you're always not proactive. You know, even when you sit at the dinner table, you're waiting to be served. You're waiting for the plate and the fork and the spoon to arrive at yourself. Well, you're doing that in the workplace as well. You know, that's an example. But don't give feedback and refer to a personal situation, something that happened at home, because again, it becomes confusing. So keep it professional, so that the people receiving the feedback understand that, and personal, being personal, have that kind of comments or conversations at home. Choose your setting. Like I said, choose your setting, choose your environment, choose your words, and that will enable that positive environment. So there you have it, guys. You may be running a family business, but you know, have a positive one. You know, have a good one that supports each other to grow. And you see, the thing about business is that there are going to be challenges, there are going to be problems, but sometimes we take for granted, as a family business, blood is thicker than water. If you've heard of this before, and people should stick around, but don't take that for granted. You know, create those relationships and be positive. Know how to create that professional setting And also the personal, very family bonding one. Know when and what roles to play, because this is the thing. A lot of family business get into so much trouble because they don't know how to handle the challenges together. It just gets mixed up. And so that's why I run this channel on how to coach family businesses, because I've coached so many family businesses in the past, and I see the same things happening. I just want to make sure that you also learn and know how to be able to create that setting for yourself. Like this video if you like it, share it with other family members or other family business owners that you think need to hear this. Definitely I want to hear your comments right below, and subscribe to the channel so that you're gonna get immense amounts more videos like this. But remember guys, have a great business and have a great life, and I'll see you next week. Take care. For this, sorry, cut. And number 3, the cut.